Hey Brian, I'll start. Happy day after thanks. And how was your day yesterday? And then just transition into how your overall feeling of practice today.
Thanks, Moz, for that softball early one. It's nice to see everybody. I hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving day, whatever you guys did. Um, uh, Yesterday was tranquilo. I'll work on my Spanish just like Shane. Um, just a nice, relaxing day, time to reflect, think about our next opponent. Uh, it was an easy day. Today's training session was good. I mean, obviously the team was upbeat. They knew they had a good game and good performance. So today was a beautiful day in the Pacific Northwest. You couldn't ask for better weather. I mean, I remember times in the playoffs, deep in the playoffs, where that field, had a bunch of rain on it. It was sloppy and all that. But, days like today in November, they're end of November, they don't come very often. So it was a great day today, Masvita.
Hola, coach. This is Alonso. Coach, FC Dallas went to Portland playing counterattack. Is something that you guys expecting for Dallas here at home?
Well, that's the question. That's the narrative that's out there already. They had success, or did they, against Dallas? Because look, it took Dallas a while to break through, but Dallas, credit to them, didn't give up. But that was actually a goal kick for Portland, where normally that sequence, Alonso, doesn't usually result in a goal for the opposite team. So did Dallas, really have success, or was that a mental lapse by Portland? You guys can answer that question. I would tell you guys to look back on last year's contest against FC Dallas. What an exciting game that was, where they came and they played us. They played us straight up. They didn't have any fear. They came after us. They didn't quit when we got 2-0 up. It took heroics from Jordan Morris to get us through in overtime. So really, I don't know which way Lucci is going to go, but we'll be ready for either formation or tactics, whatever they want to do. We'll be ready.
Coach, my name is Abby. I'm with MLSsoccer.com, and kind of touching on or going along with what you had just said. How are you different than the team that faced Dallas last year, and how do you believe that Dallas is different than the side that you saw in the playoffs last year?
Interesting question, Abby. I mean, look, they're a little different. They got a couple of more experienced guys sprinkled in. I guess they had some guys last year. I forget the guy's name, the Hungarian striker, the guy up there, but they've got a pretty experienced striker. Hollingshead has been great. I think they're maybe a little bit more experienced, and maybe that was the key. Don't know if Ziegler is going to start. I mean, that was an interesting one. So, I would say they're a little different, but Lucci still is a good coach. He still plays a possession-based style. They want to try and play out of the back. So maybe a little difference in personnel, but similar style. And as far as our team, I would say the same. I mean, I don't think we change that drastically from year to year. There's certainly the ability within this group of players to play different styles. I mean, we had a little bit more possession against LAFC than some of the previous matches against LAFC, and that was by design, and I'm happy that it worked out that way. Last year in the semifinal against LAFC, we gave up a lot of possession and, played more transition or counterattacking soccer. So I think my team is ready to, again, play different styles. Just depends on how FC Dallas lines up and what their tactics are. But again, at the end of the day, what we always try and stress here in Seattle is we always try and impart our tactics, impart our will on the game to our opponents when we line up against them. So we will try and do what we want to do and not have to change too much based on our opponent.
Brian, I imagine you've had a chance to watch back the game from earlier in the week. What, if you take your coach's hat off and just watch that, I mean, how is that? Is it fun to see your guys flying up and down and creating opportunities, scoring goals?
Yeah, I think so. But just, somebody needs to ask me what my thoughts were on it when I do have my coaching hat on, because I got some tidbits for you guys, maybe that you guys hadn't thought about. But as a fan, yeah, for sure. I mean, that was an exciting game. I mean, the goals were good, and look, LAFC came out in the second half ready to go. I mean, when you watch that tape, it doesn't lie. They were ready. They were fired up. They had a couple chances, and our chances off the post, Jordan off the post, Jordan's miss, Nico's post. We had some really good attacking movements that were enjoyable to watch. So, Jeremiah, I always love good soccer games, exciting soccer games. I'm a fan of the game for sure.
Well, what did you see as a coach?
Well, everybody was talking about the three big guys and, attack, and all that. But I want to reference one play as an example. And in the 83rd minute, you can go back and rewatch this. 83rd minute, we had a corner kick. And we take the corner kick, we take it short, and the play doesn't really come off. But Brad Smith is in there, we're counter pressing and we're in there, but they get the ball cleared out and Brad's higher up the field. And so Raul actually is the one that recovers all the way back into the left midfield spot. And then they have possession of the ball 30, 35 yards out from goal. The ball goes out to the left wing, and you see Jordan Morris sprinting out there to try and block the cross. I mean, the ball kind of goes behind him, and we still have to clear it out of danger. So it's not a play that you guys would necessarily talk about because it didn't lead to a goal-scoring chance or nobody cleared it off the line or whatever. But for me and the coaching staff, to see the team committed to each other defensively, to attacking players. Look, we know Nico does a ton of hard work. I mean, you watch Nico harassing people all over the field. He does that all the time. But Raul and Jordan are very smart defenders. I mean, and nobody gives them credit for that. And in those moments when they needed to do something to help the team, they did it. And that's what got me fired up when I rewatched the panoramic view, were some of those little moments where the team really came together and helped each other out.
Ryan, how much on a play like that? I mean, actually, as long as I've been with the Sounders, you've always talked about full team defense. I mean, even when Clint was here, you talked about that, about defenders coming back. I'm just wondering how much of that is the will and then yet the coaching to be able to teach them that when you come back, slot over to this spot on a play like that?
Well, some of that's instinctual. Some of it's, yes, the coach's messaging. Look, we don't spend a ton of time, or I didn't spend a ton of time, telling Raul, okay, you got to chase back. I mean, we need him in front of our goal. But he does it just because that's his intuitive nature. He reads the game. He understands there's something that he needs to do to help his teammates. With Jordan, it's a little different. I mean, that again was just an instinctive play. He wanted to go out and block the cross. But with Jordan, his defensive responsibilities, when the ball's on the opposite side, I want him to pinch in, tuck in. That's actually an attacking movement. If he sneaks up on a guy and steals the ball, we're in a transition moment. Raul's number one job defensively is to cut the field in half, for us. That starts our entire defending sequence. So they have very specific roles defensively, but that particular play was just instinctive. I think that's a better word for it.
Thank you.
Any other final questions for Coach Schmetzer?
I have one more question, if there's time.
Yeah.
So after the results over the past weekend, many are calling the Sounders the favorites to lift another cup. So what is your opinion on that? Does it motivate you? Do you not really pay attention to it? What are your general thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, look, the people are going to write what they do. I read it, Abby. That's the answer to one of your questions there. I do read it. I try and make sure that I measure the commentary by who it is, when it is, how it is, who we're playing again. I mean, there's lots of things that I go and process through when I read what people put out there. But it certainly is of interest to me to make sure that the team doesn't get carried away with their own press. I mean, that's something that that we as a staff always try and make sure that they don't get too high and too low. But you take it as a compliment. You still prepare your team the same way. You actually drive them harder, because we know it's the playoffs. We know it's MLS. If there was one message that I pounded into them prior to kickoff, it was the fact that there were a lot of upsets at MLS and anything can happen, starting with that Orlando game. I mean, there's some pretty great, tremendous, interesting, fun games to watch. So we didn't want to be on the losing end of any of those games.
Coach, I guess just to piggyback on that, do you feel like you guys have sort of put your stamp back on this league? There was a window there where the national talk was that we were entering this new era that was going to be dominated by some bigger market teams with deeper pockets and maybe some more household names. But you look around and Atlanta's at home, Galaxy's at home, LAFC's at home. And here you guys are, defending champs, pretty well positioned to repeat.
Well, without sounding too full of myself, Jason, and to Abby's point, I mean, I don't think we've had a let off. I mean, I think we've been competitive every year we've been in existence. So I almost might have to use that as my own blackboard material with the photo I have behind me and make sure that I don't let my guard down. I mean, I would argue with anybody that the Sounders have always been competitive. Look, we're not going to win every game. We're not going to win every championship, but I'll go through the seasons for you since you brought it up. 2016, we were written off and we came back and won a championship. 2017, when Clint came back, super motivated, we had a good team, Gustav, all those guys coming. 17, we made it to a final. Okay, back-to-back finals is one thing. In 2018, I always hark back to this year because, look, we went down to Portland. We lost to Portland in penalties up here, but Christian Roldan got injured down there and Chad Marshall got injured down there. We were ahead in the game, and then we ended up losing that game 2-1. It was a funny game, weird game. We beat Portland in that series. That was a tremendous team. That was a really, really good team. We could have done some damage in 2018. And then 2019, okay, we're defending champs. And 2020, we, have a long way to go, but we certainly are confident that, we can win a few more games. And so I don't know where the letdown is. I don't see it.
Hey, Brian, Josue Lopez here. Actually, my question was toward that. The Sounders have been in 3 finals in the last 3 years, 2 titles. What has been the secret to such good level of consistency?
Well, you need good players. You need good fans. You need good ownership. You need good organization. I mean, we have a lot of things going for us here. You need good assistant coaches. They do a great job. It requires a lot of work, but it's something that I'm very proud of, that this franchise has been successful.
Brian, since it's 2020, I got to ask the question, any health updates on the team? Can you give us anything up there?
Anybody in particular, or what do you?
Well, I'm just going to throw it to you. I mean, just overall the team. I mean, you could see in the NFL, the canceling, and just the overall health of the team.
The overall health of the team is good.
Any injury updates, Coach?
Kelvin was back in training today.
There it is. Thank you.
All right,
Yeah,
guys.
along
Go
the
ahead.
same lines, Brian, do you know about the availability of Gustav or Javi going into this game?
Gustav was not medically cleared to play. And Javi is on the quarantine, the MLS mandated quarantine protocol. And, you know, that one, he might be back for the game, but you never know.
Last call for any questions for Coach Schmetzer, guys.
And just to clarify, though, you said Gustav is out for this game. He hasn't been medically cleared yet, is what you're saying.
He is not medically cleared to play.
Okay, thank you.